It's been 5 years since my father passed away. My mother, Patricia, and sister, Caitlin, live in the large mansion he left behind in an exclusive neighborhood in Westchester County. I live alone in a modest-sized high-rise apartment on the Upper East Side, overlooking Central Park. As head of research and development at Medipharm Pharmaceuticals, my days were busy and fulfilling. I led a cancer drug development project with a $100 million annual budget, collaborating with the Mayo Clinic and Johns Hopkins Hospital. On the weekends, I regularly volunteered at the St. Mary's Senior Center. Quiet conversations with residents comforted me. My quiet life began to change when my sister's social media account, @CaitlynLaxer, started to gain explosive popularity. She posted about her lavish lifestyle, and her follower count quickly surpassed 1 million. Her advertising revenue was rumored to be over $500,000 annually. She posted daily photos of new Hermes handbags, lunch at Michelin-starred restaurants, and trips around the world in private homes. Her striking blonde hair, perfect makeup, and designer clothes made her posts the envy of young girls around the world. My mother took advantage of my sister's popularity to further strengthen her influence in New York City. With an annual income of over $1 million from our late father's estate, she established her social position through charity work and served as a board member of the New York Charity Association. Then the harassment against me began. The attacks on social media and rumors spread to damage my reputation. Comments like, "How can someone from such a rich family live such a simple life? And her sister is an embarrassment to the family," began to appear on my sister's social media account. However, I chose to endure it in silence by maintaining my beliefs and making my way on my own merits. One day, my sister announced her engagement to investor James Harrison. The post received over 1 million likes. James came from a prominent Boston family. His father was the president of an investment bank with strong connections in political and financial circles. He seemed the ideal match for my sister. Being meticulous and very status-conscious, the wedding plans moved quickly, with arrangements for a 400-person ceremony at the iconic Plaza Hotel. The budget was rumored to be more than $500,000. Industry insiders and society notables were added to the guest list. A custom wedding cake by Sylvia Weinstock, Dom Perignon champagne, and a menu that included delicacies fit for billionaires. Everything was planned to be top-notch. Yet, I never received an invitation. When I asked my mother, she dismissed me, saying, "You must be busy. You have your hands full with drug development." Still, I told myself this was my sister's special day. I prepared a modest navy blue dress by Ralph Lauren and a Tiffany necklace. Manhattan was bathed in the summer sun. I started getting ready early in the morning, putting on my navy blue dress by Ralph Lauren. My makeup was subtle yet carefully done. I paired the outfit with a Tiffany diamond necklace and pearl earrings inherited from my mother. Looking at my reflection in the mirror, I sighed deeply. As I carefully combed my black hair into a bun, I reaffirmed my desire to sincerely celebrate my sister's special day. Outside my home window, the trees of Central Park swayed in the early summer breeze. The sight of the morning joggers gave me a sense of normality. I arrived at the Plaza Hotel at exactly 11 a.m. Luxury cars arrived one after another at the entrance, with the white-gloved valet staff very busy, Bentleys, Rolls-Royces, Mercedes. My Lexus was clearly out of place. However, the valet staff greeted me with the same courtesy. "Have a wonderful day, Miss Walker," smiled the young member of staff. I nodded slightly and walked through the heavy revolving door. Entering the lobby of the hotel, I was impressed. The sparkle of the crystal chandeliers and the Italian marble floor were adorned with luxurious flower arrangements, creating a fairy tale elegance. Pure white calla lilies and pink roses were arranged in graceful curves. The sweet aroma of the flowers enveloped the entire space. In the lobby, I ran into acquaintances from the pharmaceutical industry, Dr. Johnson from the Mayo Clinic and Professor Martin from the Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. They valued my work very much. We talked excitedly about the data from clinical trials of a new cancer drug. "Elizabeth, it's your sister's big day? What a wonderful place," exclaimed Dr. Johnson. "Yes," I replied. "I sincerely wish her happiness. By the way, I heard that the data from the new drug trial shows excellent results. FDA approval should be close. Your research will save many patients." Engaged in a pleasant conversation, we headed towards the reception hall. The long hallway was filled with society luminaries. ladies in Chanel tweed dresses, women with Hermes Birkin bags. Everything was perfectly coordinated. Fragments of whispers revealed rumors that the wedding budget was over $500,000. The walls were adorned with 17th-century French tapestries, and Renaissance-style murals decorated the ceiling. On both sides of the hallway, antique vases held pure white Casablanca lilies, their pristine fragrance wafting through the air. I stopped in front of the doors of the venue. A security guard in a black suit stood there, holding the guest list. With feelings of tension, I approached the guard. Checking the list, a golden nameplate reading Plaza Security gleamed on his chest. "Your name, please?" he asked. "Elizabeth Walker," I replied. "One moment, please." The guard scrolled down the screen a few times, frowning. My heart started to pound at his expression. "I'm sorry, but your name is not on the list." Those cold words pierced my heart. I felt like the room temperature had suddenly dropped. "Please check again, Elizabeth Walker." "I am the bride's sister," I said, feeling my voice tremble slightly. The guard checked the list again, but he just shook his head expressionlessly. "Sorry, but you'll have to leave." Just then, I turned to the sound of distant laughter. There stood my mother and sister. My mother wore a pure white Chanel suit with a Cartier necklace shining at her throat. My sister wore a white Vera Wang wedding dress, with a diamond tiara adorning her hair. She held the latest iPhone in her hand, pointing the camera in my direction. She was probably live streaming on social media. Comments flooded the screen, with heart emojis floating. Messages like the best drama ever. And well-deserved for the eldest sister danced on the screen. My mother and sister wore triumphant smiles. The guests surrounding them looked at me with confused expressions. Some looked away uncomfortably. At that moment, I understood everything. It was no coincidence. Everything. The missing invitation, my mother's dismissive words. It had all been a preparation for this scene. I turned on my heels, silently walking back through the lobby. I felt worried glances from acquaintances, but I kept walking straight. Dr. Johnson tried to call me, but I smiled back without stopping. As I picked up my car from the valet service, the young employee showed a look of pity. Her earlier bright smile had disappeared. "Take care," she said. I nodded slightly at her words and got into my car, the towering figure of the Plaza Hotel in my rearview mirror gradually getting smaller. Under the cloudless blue sky, I drove in silence. The skyline of New York skyscrapers felt colder than usual. The screen of my phone kept illuminating in my bag. Then, with a deep sigh, I headed home through the bustle of Manhattan. On social media, a storm was already brewing. The hashtag Walker family scandal quickly became a trending topic, with angry comments from viewers of my sister's livestream. The video had been shared with the fiancé's family in Boston, and the Harrisons were furious. The VIPs in the pharmaceutical industry invited to the wedding were also protesting one after another. Questions were pouring in from the Mayo Clinic and Johns Hopkins Hospital, the research partners of my project. In the grand ballroom of the Plaza Hotel, more than half of the guests had started leaving early. The high-pitched sound of fancy heels on the marble floor created a distant echo in the quiet place. My cell phone was receiving worried messages from industry contacts. However, I kept it off. I drank quietly in my Manhattan home, looking out at the greenery of Central Park from my window. Then, as expected, the news came. The fiancé, James Harrison, announced the cancellation of the ceremony. "I can't marry into a family like that. I'm ending the engagement." James's calm voice echoed throughout the place. My sister let out a hysterical scream. My mother fainted, her pearl necklace scattering across the marble floor. The place fell into chaos as the media rushed in. Through the night, my apartment intercom rang. The monitor showed the tear-stained faces of my mother and sister. My mother's Chanel suit was wrinkled, and the hem of the bride's dress was stained with mud. "Elizabeth, help us." My mother's voice was shaking. The security camera showed them prostrate in front of my door, their figures wrapped in luxury brands. Now, they only evoked pity. "Please open. We will explain everything. We apologize." My sister's voice was tense. Although the social media feed had stopped, she could see masses of critical comments still flowing on her smartphone screen. Her number of followers was drastically decreasing, and it seemed she was receiving warnings about the termination of advertising sponsorships. I sat quietly on the sofa and sipped tea. Outside the window, the sun was setting, painting the skyscrapers of Manhattan orange. The intercom kept ringing. "Open, please." Our reputation can't take the screams anymore. They gradually became more desperate. The reaction on social media showed no signs of stopping. Rather, it was accelerating. The mainstream Western media was picking up the story one after another. I stood up and walked to the window. In Central Park, the usual evening scene was unfolding. People running, families walking dogs, students reading on benches. The ordinary sight made the current situation seem even more surreal. The cries and screams continued at my door. The residents of the luxury condominium looked at my mother and sister suspiciously. The security guards approached, asking them to leave. "We can't leave this situation as it is." My mobile phone started ringing again. The screen showed my mother's name. Next to it were notifications of over 100 unread messages. Requests for interviews from the media were also coming in. Then, an unexpected turn of events occurred. The security camera footage from the Plaza Hotel was leaked. The images of me being denied entry, my mother and sister laughing as they filmed it, spread instantly, sparking a new wave of outrage. The mass exodus of followers from my sister's social media account did not stop. Her follower count, which had surpassed 1 million, plummeted below 100,000 within 24 hours. But that was not all. Critical comments began to flood her previous posts. Were all the luxury brand ads borrowed items in reality? The termination notices from advertising sponsors came in like an avalanche. Her annual income of over $500,000 was about to turn to zero overnight. The Harrison family of Boston filed a massive lawsuit for damages. Over and above the $500,000 in wedding expenses, they demanded another $1 million for damage to the family's social credibility. The Harrison family, a prominent Boston dynasty, had strong influence in political and financial circles. Their anger was unimaginable. "The price for damaging our family's honor will not be small," said the president of an investment bank, James's father. His words were reported by major U.S. media outlets. The Wall Street Journal covered the scandal on its front page. The impact on my mother was also devastating. Her exclusion from New York society began immediately. She received a notice of expulsion from the New York Charity Association, and other charities she had been involved with demanded to sever ties. "I do not want to hear the name Patricia Walker again." The words of the society leaders were cold and final. The annual income of over $1 million from my father's estate would decrease significantly after the bank that managed the investments terminated their accounts. A chain of revelations began. Followers of my sister's social media account started pointing out inconsistencies in her previous posts one after another. Was this Hermes bag a replica? Are all the photos of luxury restaurants from the same angle? Why did you never go in? Were the private jet posts taken in a studio? The investigation revealed shocking facts. Most of my sister's posts were carefully staged fabrications. Luxury brand items were borrowed or replicas. Meals at restaurants were photographed only from the outside, without actually eating there. Many photos from overseas trips were digitally edited. Additionally, it was revealed that their treatment of me at the wedding was planned harassment. They had intentionally excluded me. My name was removed from the guest list, and I had pre-announced the broadcast on social media to gather many viewers. I wanted to create the best drama to get the largest number of viewers. My sister's confession caused huge online criticism, intensified by her act of trampling on family ties. The number of viewers and advertising revenue skyrocketed. My employer, Metafarm, was inundated with PR issues over this scandal. However, the company's response was swift. Vice President Elizabeth Walker's achievements in research and development are unbreakable. Family matters and her professional capabilities are entirely separate. The CEO's statement gained strong support within the industry. Rather, through this incident, the appreciation for my work further increased. The research and the joint venture with the Mayo Clinic and Hopkins Hospital continued to progress smoothly. Elizabeth's research will bring hope to many cancer patients. Professor Martin's words were widely shared in the medical community. Clinical trial data for the new drug showed excellent results, with FDA approval approaching. However, my mother and sister's situation continued to worsen. The large mansion in Westchester County had to be sold to pay for the damages. With complete exclusion from society, the foundations of their life completely collapsed. Avoiding public attention, they had no choice but to move to a small apartment in the suburbs. As it has come to this, My mother's pitiful voice echoed through the walls of the small apartment. All her handbags and luxury brand clothing were auctioned off. Most of her savings disappeared in damaged payments, leaving only regret. In the midst of it all, a letter arrived in the mailbox of my apartment. It was a letter of apology from my mother and sister. On tear-stained letter paper, they acknowledged their past mistakes. We did not understand your sincerity. We were drowning in vanity and pride, losing sight of what was important. However, I had already made a decision. Although I could forgive, going back to our old relationship was impossible. The past can't be changed. Each of us had to choose new paths in life. Please don't contact me again. That was all I wrote in my reply. It has been a year since then. The sunlight coming through the windows of St. Mary's Senior Center is soft and warm. I walked down the hall of the center after finishing my weekend volunteer work. Elizabeth, thank you for coming again today. She smiled, an elderly woman in her 80s, seated in her wheelchair. Conversations with her always made my heart happy. During this year, my volunteer activities have expanded significantly. I am now a director of a nonprofit organization supporting the elderly, which increases my opportunities for social contribution. At MediPharm, my promotion from development director to vice president was decided. The development of the drug exceeded expectations of success, receiving FDA approval. We were able to bring new hope to many cancer patients. Vice President Walker's leadership is outstanding. Her integrity was the key to success. My reputation in the industry has become unshakable, with research results successively published in medical journals. The urban landscape of Manhattan remains as vibrant as ever. Meanwhile, the life of my mother and sister has changed drastically. Their social media accounts were completely deleted, and they lost their place in society. Living quietly in a small apartment in the suburbs, they can only remember the glory of the past. Just once, I would like to meet and talk. From time to time, messages come from my mother. However, I don't reply. That was my choice. I decided to live looking forward, not imprisoned by the past. From the window of my high-rise apartment, the colors of Central Park are beautiful. In my life, full of work and volunteer activities, I don't regret anything. Rather, I feel that the events of that wedding day gave a new meaning to my life, to live with sincerity. I have realized that this is the most important thing. I shared these words at the MediPharm board meeting. From the window of the conference room, the skyscrapers of Manhattan are visible under a cloudless blue sky. A new era was about to begin. My once famous sister now reportedly works in a small accounting firm. My mother spends her days knitting at home. Her luxurious lifestyle has become a distant memory as they live modestly. There are more important things than money and fame. We had to lose it all to realize that. That's what was written in my sister's last letter. Inside the envelope was a simple picture of them together. Gone were the luxury designer suits and heavy makeup, yet their expressions showed a peaceful contentment. Sometimes, I drive by the Plaza Hotel. The events of that day now seem like distant memories. The volunteer work at the senior center, the drug development, the responsibilities of the research company. Amid my fulfilling daily life, I am walking my path. Elizabeth is our pride. The words of Dr. Johnson of the Mayo Clinic were widely shared in the medical community. But for me, the most important thing is the fact that I have lived true to my beliefs. The twilight of Manhattan envelopes the city in its usual beauty. The setting sun reflects in the windows of the skyscrapers, painting the city in orange light. The trees of Central Park sway gently in the breeze. Tomorrow will bring another new day. Perhaps that is the greatest gift to me, that I chose to live with integrity.